What's up, guys? Here we are, Monster Motivator TV number 57, coming to you real, raw, and live. They're the only options on Monster Motivator TV from Temecula, California, one of my favorite cities after Marietta. I don't want anybody getting mad. Marietta's been really good to me. So, and I live in Fallbrook. So, I'm excited. We have another awesome entrepreneur here today. His name is Kenny Acton. I always go with action. I like that, man. I like that. But he's going to share with you where he started, where he's at today, and where he sees himself going. And he's been an entrepreneur for years now, and that's what I love to connect with. Share that story. You know who you are, where you came from, and I know you've been. You know you were in the real estate world for a while, flipping houses and in the construction end of things. So we'd love to learn a little bit about that. And like anybody else, right? What I call going through those life gives us boot camps, right?
Absolutely.
Life says, what are you really made of?
Yeah.
And how bad do you want it? So you, just like me, we've been down those roads where it's up, it's down, it's up, it's down, but it makes it so interesting. Would you agree?
Yes, absolutely.
So introduce yourself and tell us where you're from.
My name is Kenny Acton. I'm from Yorba Linda, California. I graduated from Esperanza High School.
So you're a Southern California kid?
Yeah.
Right? You know what we call that, right?
No.
Spoiled.
Yeah, that's true.
This is paradise.
Yeah.
This is paradise. So you grew up in Southern California.
Yeah.
And after you graduated high school, then what?
Honestly, I was a jock in high school. I could dunk when I was in the 8th grade.
Okay.
I did really well in basketball.
Okay.
And then once I got done with that, it was all about the party.
Right. So let's go back a little bit. Right. You said you were a jock. Was that a release for you? Did that help you in school?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the only reason when I was in the 3rd grade, they wanted to skip me to the 5th grade because I tested so high.
Okay.
And my mom thought I was too immature for that, so I didn't end up
Right.
doing that.
Right.
Yeah. And
so they were going to skip you 2 grades.
Yeah.
Wow. I went the other way. They left me back almost 2 grades. So yeah.
But I only got grades enough to pass so I could play basketball. You know, you need 2.0 to be able to be eligible. And so I would pass my test. I wouldn't do my homework. You know, I would do the bare minimum.
But you were one of those guys that could do nothing and pass those tests.
Yeah.
You know, it boggled my mind, right? How that could be, but that's an awesome thing to have.
Yeah. No, I was very blessed.
Okay. All right.
Absolutely.
So how was school? Did you like school, or did you what did you like about it? What didn't you like about it?
I liked school. I never really felt like I fit in a whole lot.
No.
You know, even though I was on varsity and I had a lot of friends, I always felt like I was kind of not a part of. You know,
you just didn't fit in all the way. A little bit of an outsider.
Yeah.
Even though
I wasn't really, but in my mind, I always felt like I wasn't quite like everybody else.
And you know what, man? To be honest with you, you're really, especially at that age, you're in the majority, not the minority.
Yeah.
So many, kids growing up, and I always say the greatest gift that a parent can give their kid is a solid self-image, a bulletproof self-image.
Yeah.
But where do you think that started to manifest? How was your house? How was it growing up?
My mom was a single mom.
Okay.
She worked 8 to 5, and at the time, everything was my mom's fault. But my mom did a great job raising us.
Right.
I mean, she would cook us breakfast in the morning before she'd take us to school. I had a home-cooked meal every night. We didn't have fast food.
Okay.
All 3 food groups or 4 food groups.
And she worked full time.
And worked full time. Had 2 little kids.
So
my
you
sister's
was
only a year and a half younger than me.
So it's just you and your sister.
Yeah.
And let me touch on something you said. It's interesting. You said it was always her fault.
Yeah.
So were you growing up? Did you feel like you were the victim?
I'm her only son.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was younger, she had some issues with men. She'd been married 4 times, and they weren't always to her liking,
Right.
And so I became the target for some of that stuff.
Oh, okay. The outlet.
Yeah.
Right? Because she didn't know what else to do.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was a very difficult child. I mean, she literally to
Let's
this day
knuckle that
says
up, man.
I gave
Right
her
there.
every gray hair she had.
Yeah.
And she did her best.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, man.
Yeah.
It was a rough ride for my I call it a rough paper route. We had a rough paper route. But so you got grades enough to get by. You wanted to play sports. Sports was your outlet, and the home life, wasn't ideal, but it wasn't the worst either. You still had a roof over your head. You still
at the time I thought it was the worst home life ever. I mean, how could I grew up across the street from the golf course in Yorba Linda.
Okay.
I I have a great family. I was well loved. I mean, were there issues? Absolutely. But,
like anybody else.
But when I look back and reflect on everything and how much my mom sacrificed and did, and you know,
you almost feel embarrassed, right?
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely.
And but the difference is, some people even after don't do that. They don't look back and say, you know what, overall it was great. You know,
No.
overall. But so many people keep that anchor. Right, it keeps pulling them down because they become
it's everyone else's fault.
Because because they become that victim.
Yeah.
So now you see yourself. Did you go to college after high school?
I did about a half a semester, and then it was it got in the way of my partying career.
Okay, so priorities.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
I hear you. Priorities.
I dug myself quite a hole before I got out of it.
Okay, let's jump into that a little bit. But
Okay.
I know, Kelly, we had a few people jump on. Love to say hello. I just can't read it from back here. Keenan, what's up, brother? Keenan, I'm glad you jumped on, man. Thank you for jumping on, and this is going to be a really dynamic story today. I can see where we're going with this because it's always about the dip. We all have dips, but we're going to pull ourselves out of that dip, right? We have some other people jump on.
Matt Crane.
Matt, thank you, pal. Thank you, brother. Thanks for jumping on. Anybody else?
That's it for now.
Okay. So, Kenny, your partying was becoming the priority, right?
Yeah.
And where did that start to lead you? Where did you start? You know, what started to happen, and really, what started to unravel, right?
It all started to unravel. I had two friends that were twin brothers that I grew up with. I played literally from like T-ball, 6 years old,
Okay.
all the way through, and I was like the third brother.
Okay.
And Brea police, Yorba police, they all knew who we were.
Right,
You know,
right.
that we were always getting in trouble for something, fights at bars, so on and so forth.
Right.
And it just took me down a road that I dug myself into, but at the time it was my
Everyone
mom's
else,
fault.
right? It was that victim.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, how long of a window was that that rough ride?
From about 18 to 22, 23.
Okay, so not too bad,
No.
compared to a lot of people. And I went down the same road. My crew was always usually older than me.
So was mine.
Right, so I got drugged down that wrong road much earlier than most people,
Yeah.
but I also got it out of me much quicker too. So my window was probably like 16 to 20, about 16 to 19. Yeah, because 19 is when I really hit rock bottom, right?
Yeah.
And so after 22, what started to happen? How did you start to change things? I know it had to start to happen mentally.
Well, law enforcement was involved quite a bit.
Okay. So you were building a record.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have 3 felonies, 5 misdemeanors.
Okay.
And it's not something I'm proud of, but it's not something I'm ashamed of anymore either.
But it's who you are. It's just what happened.
It was,
Yeah.
well, almost 17 years ago.
Right.
Seeing what I did to my mom, and then getting sober,
Right.
and working the steps thoroughly, and seeing my part in a lot of things that had gone on in my life, not just in my childhood, but in my early adult years. It was really hard for me.
Right.
Because in my mind, that whole time, I always had that victim mentality, and I wasn't that bad.
Right.
And it was,
Right.
if they just did this, or if this just happened, it would be better.
Right.
And being able to accept responsibility for that stuff it allowed me to heal and to move forward in my life and kind of figure out what I wanted to do and who I was. So I really lost my identity.
Did you have anybody come into your life that helped you make that paradigm shift, that change?
My first sponsor in AA,
Okay.
he was a Marine drill sergeant named Art.
There you go.
And he was about 5'2" and one of the meanest guys I ever knew. But
He got your attention?
But he loved me to death. You know, and
right.
he would just tell me to shut up a lot and stop asking questions and just do the next indicated thing. Until I started having that thought process. It's all about like building patterns for me. And when I was able to start building those healthy patterns and getting rid of the bad ones and change my perspective every morning, instead of keeping that negative perspective or that, what if this happens, or that fear that can consume you and make you do things. I always tell myself and my employees, don't ever make decisions based on fear.
Right.
It will always be the wrong decision.
Love that, man, because I just wrote a book, Knock Out Fear in the First Round, because it's such a big stopper for everybody, if you allow it. Let me ask you this though: how important was it to change your environment at that time?
100%. I didn't hang out with any of my friends from high school or any of my friends that I was doing bad things with. All my friends became sober people, and that alone kind of changed the dynamic of what I did and how I did it was completely different. And for me, if I was going to change some of that, I had to change all of it if I wanted another life.
Right.
And I always tell people this, is that I really feel like I had two lives in one. You know, I had that life where I was that person and did those things, and then I had the life that I have today, which no one would recognize me if they saw me today and knew me back then, you know?
Right, and I like that perspective, but let me ask you this. That person you were before, right, to the person you are now, you couldn't be that person you are now without that first person.
Absolutely not.
You just wouldn't be who you are.
It took every single thing exactly the way it was intended to happen for me to get from there to here.
And I always call that wisdom versus knowledge, right?
Yeah.
You acquired all that wisdom. Hey, listen, whether you call it toxic, whether you call it good, whether you call it bad, at the end of the day, you still have more wisdom than you did prior by going down that road.
Yeah, absolutely.
Would you agree to that?
Yes, 100%.
Yeah. So now you're 22, 23 years old, and
24.
And then what are you doing for work at that time?
I started working with my cousin Chance. He owns a window company called Hardy Windows and Doors.
Okay.
And I'd actually started doing that in between my little stints in jail when I was 21 to 24. And I learned a lot, and I was able to start doing that on my own.
Okay.
And then I got my general contractor's license and started doing my own jobs, and then I just kind of evolved from there.
Right. And like I think you mentioned earlier, 3 felonies?
Yeah.
Okay. So here's the deal, right? It doesn't matter. It doesn't. The start is not nearly as important as the finish. And what I mean by that, right? You could also, and we always have options, right?
Yeah.
You could sit here today. We wouldn't even be sitting here if you decided this option. But you could have this option right now in your life, saying, you know what? I have 3 felonies. There's nothing I can do about it. No one's going to hire me. I can't make any money, and I'm broke.
No,
right?
and actually, there's a beautiful story behind that.
Oh, good. Let's. I mean, if you're good, let's go there because I'd love to share that with people because you just decided to take a different road. But if you decided to take,
I had a lot of faith and a lot of trust that you know, for me it's God, you know, that I would be able to do whatever His will was for me if I just took the action to do it. And so you have to have 7 years of experience in construction in order to qualify for your contractor's license by the state of California. I knew my record was going to be an issue. They have a department specifically for that.
they know.
And so it was under review. It was going to be denied because of my record. And the lady that worked in that department, she had fought breast cancer one time before, and it had come back. And she was in late stages of that, and she literally called me on a Saturday. I'll never forget it. And she's like, Kenny, I just want to talk to you because I sent in some of my AA chips and pictures and, you know, give her a little background on how much I changed.
Set and see.
Yeah, you know, just like this is my life today. That's not who I am anymore. And she called me on a Saturday. It was like 10 a.m. and it was really odd. She's like, you know, I'm so and so with the California State Contractors License Board. I have some questions for you. And this was literally her last day at work before she went back into chemo and treatment.
Okay.
And it wasn't promising. And we had like a 20-minute conversation. And she said, you know what, I'm going to take a chance on you. And I'm gonna clear you to get your license.
Wow.
And yeah, that was like.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you keep taking that action, and the things start to unfold.
Yeah.
But I want to really drive home the point with your story, right? Where you still had the option to say, I have 3 felonies. No one's gonna. I have no way of getting ahead in life, right? And there's so many people that use that as an anchor, right?
Yeah.
And you could also say, there's no way I'm going to get a license because of my record, and just walked away and been homeless or whatever the results would have been. I just want to drive that home that it doesn't matter, right, where you came from. It's just what matters is today, the mindset, and honestly, how bad you want it.
Yeah, and taking that action, taking that step. It's just always about taking that step in the direction you want to go, whether it's big or little, and not having fear consume you or give you doubt. Because if you always are doubting yourself or in fear, you're never allowed to really be free to fully invest in anything, because you're always holding back, in my opinion.
No, it's
You know,
listen, it's
and so,
100%.
yeah.
So what are some of the things you do to conquer your fears?
I pray every morning.
Okay, so your belief.
My belief, my children,
Okay.
Everything that God has shown me. You know, my favorite prayer is Footprints in the Sand.
Mm-hmm.
It talks about how He carries you when you can't carry yourself, and for me, that's true.
Yeah.
You know, when I finally got sober and I stopped doing things my way, I was on my couch, my mom's couch, one last time. I'd been kicked out of treatment,
Right.
and it was literally I told God, either help me or take me. I can't do this anymore.
One or the other. It's either.
Yeah. I can't live like this anymore, and He helped me. You know?
Okay.
And to me, if I have faith in God or in a higher power, whatever you want to call it, I'm more of a spiritual person than a religious one. But if I have that faith, then I know no matter what it is, it's going to be okay.
I think one of the other keys too, from what you're sharing, is, and it jumps right out at me because I'm the why guy, right? If your why is big enough, it's going to pull you through. When your why becomes bigger than you become unstoppable. So you mentioned your kids.
Yeah.
So that's, I'm sure, a huge part of your why of doing what you do, right? To get yourself out of that funk, to get yourself moving, and to become successful. Would that be pretty accurate?
Absolutely. Okay. I have a 4-year-old little girl that I have most of the time.
Okay.
I share custody with her mom.
Right.
And just her energy and her laugh and seeing, you know, all the things that are great about children makes me all. I mean, the worst day I have, the worst day I have, all I have to do. I mean, I have a picture of her on my computer.
Yeah. It's just so pure.
Yeah. It always settles me and makes me realize what I'm here to do. So I'm here to provide a better life for my children.
Love it.
And to help people along the way as much as I can, you know.
Sure.
I don't believe in tearing people down. I think that the more people you build up, the better it is for you in every aspect of your life. You know, and doing the right thing to the best of your ability. Have I made mistakes? Have I faltered? Mm-hmm. Have I done things I wish I hadn't? Absolutely. But I always try to do the right thing every chance I can to the best of my ability.
You know, I quote Gary Vee on that. Doing the right thing is always the right thing, you know?
Yeah.
And that's just what it comes down to, because everything's energy, right? What you put out comes back.
Absolutely.
What you put out comes back. Quantum physics tells us that.
Absolutely.
I think other people jumped on, Kelly, or did I see some comments?
We have Wally Vasquez is on. We have Carrie, Echo, Shane, Leah. We've got a bunch of people on.
Oh, great. Wally, what's up, my man? We're in the same industry, the fire restoration. Wally's my man. He's from the East Coast, and he's out here now. He's had his struggles and just keeps pushing and making it, and never die attitude. I love him, man. Thank you, Wally, for jumping on. We have Echo.
Yep.
Echo, how are you? She reached out on social media. Another girl that's just single mom, making it happen. No excuses. Let's figure it out. Fall down, get back up, brush yourself off. So we're in a good environment right here, my man. Anybody else?
Shelly just jumped on just a second ago.
Okay. Did she have a comment?
The energy you put out comes back full force. You put out positive energy.
100%, Shelly. And Shelly's going to book her second episode soon. 100%. It's all about energy. You know it's a boomerang, right?
Yeah.
What you put out comes back, and what I love about that, when people really understand that, is it takes all the excuses away, and the only place you can look is in the mirror.
Yeah.
Right? That's the only place. You have to own it.
Yeah.
And the ones that don't own it keep getting hit in the head with the boomerang.
Yes,
It's
absolutely.
Interesting.
I like that analogy,
and I have a few dents. I have a few dents on the back of my head.
So do I, yes.
Trust me.
Yeah.
Trust me.
Yeah, for sure.
Anybody else?
Shane, the Shane train is on.
There he is, Shane Train. This guy has an awesome. He's a founder of an awesome organization that we're connecting with, Millionaires Against Bullying. Absolutely phenomenal organization. We're just working some things out to collaborate, and that'll be done the end of this week. Actually, Big
That's
Shane,
awesome.
Thank you for jumping in, Philly in the house, Shane. That's my boy. Thank you. So, you're in your middle 20s. You're just starting to figure it out. You're getting out of that funk.
Yeah.
And when did you start to get into real estate, the real estate flipping?
I think it was probably 2005, 2006. I started seeing the market was on the upswing and home prices, and I've always been a numbers guy. Like I can add numbers in my head.
Okay.
It's just something I've been able to always be really well at.
Right.
And I started buying houses that were smaller that I could afford, and flipping them. I put new windows in them because I could get them at cost, and just doing aesthetic stuff, and then turn around and making a few dollars on the back end.
Just a real entrepreneurial
Yeah.
DNA, brother. That's
yeah,
it.
and then when the market went bad, I pulled out just in time, and then when it got good again, I came back in. I bought 3 homes from 2014 to 2000, like early 2015.
Right.
Sold those, did them all short sales. So I paid all cash, come in, turn around. I mean, I bought a house for 172,000, and I sold it for 255, 61 days later.
Right.
And I put $9 grand into it.
Yeah, and this is a guy, right, that years before, on paper, was not supposed to win.
No.
Right? That's the bottom line.
No.
On paper, all the outside noise, everyone said.
Even my mom was like, "You dug yourself such a hole you can't even see daylight anymore. There's nothing."
That must, yeah. Let me ask you this, man. How did you battle that? Because that has to go deep. Because it's your mom.
It did, but I think my mom knew how my mind worked.
Okay.
I've always been the guy that if you tell me I can't do something, I will die trying to do that.
Okay.
And for her, I think it was more of a reverse psychology thing, where she was like, how far down are you going to go before you're going to show everybody who you really are?
Right.
And that's how I took it.
Yes.
I did things to my mom that I will regret for the rest of my life.
Sure.
And she was always the first one there for me.
Yeah. Yeah,
always.
it's just unconditional.
Yeah, absolutely,
Unconditional.
absolutely.
Unconditional.
And she's the first to forgive, and she's an amazing human being. And
Right.
with everything I've gone through, I wouldn't be where I'm at without her and her belief system and the way that she raised me.
Right.
To always try and do the right thing. Even when I was younger.
And it's interesting, right? Again, like we talked about early on, it was the reverse.
Absolutely.
She was the bad guy, right?
Yeah.
She was the one that created all this craziness in your world. That's why you're where you're at.
Yeah.
But you had that paradigm shift. And without that paradigm shift, he can't go anywhere. You cannot go anywhere except down without that shift. So it's so vitally important to understand that the attitude of gratitude wins every single time.
No matter what.
It just wins every single time.
Yeah.
And the other cool thing is we can only be in one state at a time, right?
Yeah.
So when you're in that gratitude state, you can't be in that victim state at that moment. But if you're in that victim state,
yes,
you can't be in the gratitude state. Would you agree?
Absolutely. Every morning, I tell all my employees this. I tell everybody I work with, anybody that asks me for advice, before I walk out my garage door to get in my car every morning, I say a simple prayer. I thank God for my health, for my family, for my children. Just little, like the most simplest of things. I don't get into like details, this and that. For 3 things every morning, I get in my car and go to work. And so I set my day up to be grateful for whatever happens every day.
Just did a video on that this morning about setting your intention, setting your day, so you're not what I call a buoy in the ocean, right?
Absolutely.
You're not just floating around and the wave hits you on the left, so now you go to the right because the wave, now it hits you on the right, you go to the left. And so many people are living their life like a buoy in the ocean, but you're setting your intention, right? And like you said, they're very simple, but they're so deep.
Yes.
Right? They're so big. It's such a big, it's your why.
Yeah.
Would you know?
Absolutely. And I think that every day setting that intention and trying to hit that mark. I mean, are there days where that doesn't happen or it's far from happening? Absolutely.
You're human.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, I'm still so grateful for where I'm at and where I strive to be.
Where you're going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I have drive to do that.
Right. And what you have right now. You become so grateful for your family, for your kids, whatever that is that resonates with you so deeply. So now you got into real estate, made your money, jumped out, got back in.
Yeah.
Right. Then what? And then where's that little?
I retired for about 8 or 9 years.
Okay. Because you cashed in and just retired.
And kind of went out and did my own thing.
How old were you? What were those years?
I was 30 to 38.
So what were those years?
What do you mean? In regards to what?
2000.
2007 to 2009 to 14.
Right. So when the economy took a dump, you knew to get out, right?
Yeah.
Nothing was moving. Banks weren't lending, right?
No.
It was the bubble burst.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
you had enough money to be able to live on.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And then towards the end of that time period, I went out and partied a little bit, did some things that I shouldn't have, and kind of got off track, because idle mind, in my opinion, is a mind that is doomed.
And
yeah.
you know what? And especially because I've been around it my whole life.
Yeah.
Especially people with an addictive personality.
Yeah.
Again, whether it's toxic or not,
Yeah.
I have an addictive personality, right?
Absolutely.
When I'm in, I
Yeah.
am all in.
Yes.
I mean, blinders on.
Yes.
I decided a long time ago that it's my outlet, because I've been an athlete too my whole
Yeah.
life, and the gym is my zen. That's
Yeah.
that's my therapy. But you know, early on, it was so
Yeah.
when you and so many entrepreneurs, real entrepreneurs, right, full time, where you can't work for somebody or you're smothered. Entrepreneur has that addictive personality, man.
You
It
have
just
to.
is.
You have
It just is
Yes.
what it is.
Yes,
You
yes.
know, so you found yourself going down that wrong road.
And I went big with that too. I was down at the gas
Of course.
lamp literally 3
Yes.
or 4 days a week. I was
Yeah.
dropping 10 grand a night. I mean, I'd have
Really?
my name on the LED screen in the back of the clubs. I mean, I had the best table in the house. I popped bottles of Dom Perignon with Snoop Dogg, Wiz Khalifa. I mean, yeah, I went big,
Yeah.
like I do with everything. And then I didn't get the same kind of
Return.
God's grace or a return on that. That I did with other things I'd done in my life. I felt really empty and hollow, and so I kind of like turned myself around.
Let me touch on that, right? And let me give my perspective, and you tell me if you feel like it's right or wrong. And it doesn't matter, right? And I tell everyone, take what works and throw out the rest. But my take on that, why you probably didn't feel, you felt even more empty, is because your self-image now, you realized, your subconscious realized that you made a deal with yourself, and you made a deal with your higher power, whoever that was, for a certain period of time, and then went back on that deal, right?
Absolutely.
So subconsciously, now you have to dig out even deeper, because, again, it's a much bigger thing in your self-image.
I was sober 10 years.
Right, and
I
you
got
made
sober
that
when I
deal.
was 26.
Like in your mind, you made that deal, right? And then it came back, which listen,
and that
it
was
is what
brand.
it is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, and it's all part of my experience, and it's all part of my story or my life or whatever you want to call it. But I learned that still isn't, even with all the money and the power and all that stuff, that's not the life for me.
Right.
You know, even if I had all the money in the world, that's not how I want to live my life.
Right, and I love to be able to share whenever I can a perspective on not just that it happened, right? But I'd love to be able to dig deeper when you say, I just didn't feel the same as I did before, so we can give, people want, well, why? Why would that be, right? And my belief is because you made that deal subconsciously, kind of reneged on it, right? Yeah. And now it's like, wow, what do I do, right? So you figured out a way out of your funk.
Yeah.
How'd you do that?
Well, I want to touch on what you said a little bit here. That what happened for me is that I lost my spiritual connection to God, and part of that, and then it kind of, for me, it's in reverse. So if I lose that spiritual connection with God, I start living in my own will instead of in His will, and I start doing things that I shouldn't be. It's kind of that landslide effect, and then you go back to where you have none of the stuff or the gifts that you had before, whether you have money or no money. You don't have God's grace or whatever you want to call it.
And do you find yourself in a different environment?
Absolutely, every time.
100%.
And so it got to the point where I started going back to my program and started going back to meetings and reconnecting with the people that I'd always known. And I was still retired, and about, I would say, 6 months into all that, I decided to get back to work and do something healthy for myself. And I started a vape juice company called Cloud Syndicate, and that did pretty well. And then I had a good friend of mine who owned a treatment facility, and he asked me if I could help him get clients. I've never really been in sales as much. I'm a good communicator, and I'm able to, talk to people in a way to
But
get
you're the
them to
behind
do
the
things.
scenes guy.
Yeah.
You're the numbers guy.
Yeah. And so it was something to do.
Yeah.
And I knew treatment, I knew program, I knew all that stuff. And so it was kind of like, let me see if I can figure this out. because it's something I have some interest in.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when I have interest in something, I usually can perform very well. And it kind of just snowballed to where I am now, you know.
Wow.
And it's
wow.
It's
I mean, it's
going really, really well.
And we're gonna touch on where you are now. Kelly, does anybody else jump on? It looks like a few more people might have.
Shelly's talking about it's all about gratitude.
Yeah.
That's what you're
100%, Shelly. I mean, it's just, you know, again, it can't get any more powerful when you have that. You know, I call a lot of things a dynamic duo, right?
Yeah.
And it depends on the context and the content we're talking about. But this is such a powerful dynamic duo. It's really unstoppable when you think about it. The hunger, right, and the gratitude. And I always relate that back to someone that came from a different country, right? A third world country, or a country that didn't have what we have.
Yeah.
The immigrant mentality, they have that combination that's hunger and gratitude at the same time. It's like a combination of a left and a right, and it's unstoppable.
No, and I
It's
agree with that
unstoppable.
completely. You know, and for myself, it's that same way. I had that hunger, and I had that life that wasn't the best.
Yeah.
And so I was able to turn that, and that's exactly, I love that analogy, because that's exactly what it is.
Is it?
You have that hunger, and then you have the gratitude, and it catapults you.
That you're even look at that, man. You're bringing the heat. You're getting hearts and thumbs up, my man. Anybody else, Kelly?
You've got people hanging tough. Shelly has a question.
Sure, bring it.
What influenced you to be the man you are today? What is your why?
I would say what influenced me the most is my grandfather.
Your grandfather?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he was. My dad was his only son. He actually worked with Walt Disney when they were first creating Disneyland. He was a master plasterer, and he was married to the same woman for 60 years.
Wow.
And he taught me how to throw a baseball. He taught me how to shave. He couldn't even get up the bleachers, but he'd come to every one of my basketball games and sit on the very first row just to watch me play.
Just as stand up as you can get.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
just to stand up.
Yeah.
So he was your grandfather. So he probably grew up in the early 20s, 30s, right, and into depression.
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
Where
right.
I believe that's the generation that why we're here. Right.
Yeah.
That's why we're here, because of that generation of that same mentality. Right. Even if they weren't immigrants at that time. Right. Say they were second, third generation, but they still had that hunger and that gratitude.
Yeah.
You know, and you just
Absolutely.
it's unbeatable.
Yeah.
It's absolutely unbeatable. So Shelly, absolutely. Thank you for the question. Thank you for jumping on too. For all the comments. Anybody else we want to acknowledge?
I think that's it for right now.
Okay. So what's going on now, man? How are you keeping yourself busy? I know that you you still play sports. Do you do anything physical to get some outlet in?
No, I need to. That's the one part I think is actually missing from my diet right now is doing some more stuff for myself.
Okay.
I've been so busy with work and trying to get not just my company but the people I work with, you know, up and going on the right track to the best of their ability. But yeah, no, I work probably 12 hours a day, 7 days a week right now.
That's me, man. That's yeah. But so do you miss, since you were an athlete? Do you miss doing things that were physical? Do you?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a bad knee and a bad ankle, so I can't really play basketball like I used to, you know. The physical activity I do miss, yeah.
Okay.
Very
All
much.
right. And then you have, so you're running 2 businesses right now.
Yeah.
Right. And that's probably your zen. That's your, you know.
It is. I love. I call it the win. I like it when I can get clients to come in. I like it when I'm able to really connect with someone and get their trajectory or their life path changed to something that could be way better than what they're on. To me, that's a win. You know.
What are the name of your companies, and how can people connect?
The name of my companies are Cloud Syndicate for the vape juice side and Client Initiatives for the marketing for drug and alcohol treatment.
So the first one is an actual juice. It's an actual product.
No, all I do is I sell juices from other juice manufacturers.
Okay.
I'm just like a
A
distributor.
broker. Oh, you're a distributor. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Just online.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. And then the other is a drug and alcohol.
I'm a marketing company.
So does that give you fulfillment? Does that make you feel good?
I love it. I love it.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you love about it?
I like being able to connect with not just the parents on the side of trying to understand the addict or the alcoholic, but also like I have an ability to connect with the younger crowd that drinks and uses these days that most other people don't understand or can't connect with. And so being able to get their loved ones in treatment or get them at least to a safe place for however long they choose to be there is very fulfilling for me.
And see what all that being said today, everything that Kenny shared, right? It all comes down to this. He's doing two things that everyone wants to do, right? And I always say that the definition of success is living life on your terms, which you are.
Yeah.
And the definition of happiness is fulfillment. So you found that, right, again.
Yeah.
And probably in a different level than you did prior, I would imagine, versus the real estate.
No, absolutely. And you know, even though I'm the boss, I'm in the trenches with my employees. I still get on calls. I still talk to parents. I talk to loved ones. I talk to addicts and alcoholics all day long. And it reminds me of where I was. Every time I get on a call, it reminds me of I was no different than they were.
Right.
Absolutely not.
Right.
You know, and if they could see my life today compared to where my life was then,
Yep.
they wouldn't believe it.
It's like night and day.
I truly believe I'm a miracle. Because not only was I able to get sober once for 10 years, but I've been sober now for another almost 2.5. People don't do that.
Right.
People don't have that many chances. People don't get those opportunities. And to be where I am today compared to that person then, I wouldn't believe it myself if I wasn't living this life.
Right, right. I mean, and you know, understand too, he's talking about a certain situation, which is his own situation. Everything's relatable, right? Everything that you shared today is relatable to wherever you are. You know, if you're listening, you're watching. I always want to give as much value as we can. If you're that single mom, right, trying to get out of that 9 to 5, it's the same recipe, just different ingredients. Absolutely. You have to be hungry. You have to be grateful. You have to have a work ethic second to none, right? You have to earn it. Life says if you don't earn it, you don't deserve it.
Yeah.
You know, and that's just that. Again, the same recipe, different ingredients. So I just want to make sure I highlight that for everyone out there watching. Kelly, anybody else jump on?
Shelly said thank you, and Leah Friday is on now.
Leah, thank you for jumping on. And Shelly, thank you so much. And make sure you book your second episode because I'm excited on all the stuff she's going to share about the brain. She forgot more than I even know when it comes to the brain. So I'm going to learn a lot on that episode. Make sure you get yourself booked, Shelly. I'm interested. And Leah, thank you so much for jumping on. Is there anything that I didn't touch on that you want to mention before we do jump off?
No, I just think that dedication and hard work. I mean, if you keep your eye on the prize and don't give up, like my mentality my entire life is I don't quit. I don't stop. I mean, and anyone that knows me will tell you that. Like, he'll either do it or he will literally die trying.
Right.
And if you have that mentality and you just stay focused and you don't get deterred or get stuck in fear or in hesitation or any of that, then you can succeed no matter what you're doing.
Right, right. And like you say, if you don't get stuck or you don't get stuck in fear, and again, people are going to say, well, that's great, Kenny. You did it, but how can I do it? And that's simple, right?
Yeah.
It's simple, not always easy. Surround yourself with the right people.
Yeah.
Create the right plan. Be flexible with that plan.
Yeah.
And just outwork everybody.
Yeah.
Just outwork
Always
them.
have goals. And even if you don't hit those goals right off the bat, don't quit just because you didn't hit that certain goal. If you're in that same direction, eventually you're going to hit the mark, and that's when everything changes.
Exactly. Can you? And life says, what are you made of?
Yeah.
And are you willing to earn it?
Yeah.
You know, and I'm sure you agree there are no overnight successes. It's a myth.
Yeah.
We haven't been able to see all the struggle, behind all behind the scenes, and that's just life. So, man, I want to thank you for taking the time. We just met now, man. It's a pleasure, man. Thank you for sharing that story, and I'm glad that you look at it the way I do, and the fact that your story's not about you. Your story's about those other people that you're going to be able to help. That's why you made it through.
Yeah.
So it's an obligation. I look at it as an obligation, right?
Yeah.
For those people that never graduated high school, were left back and said they weren't supposed to succeed, right? That was my dip, right? Find myself sitting in a jail cell, looking at major time if things didn't go. That was my dip. And there's so many people that relate to that, just like your dip. There's, forget it. And, you know, can't tell you how many people, right,
Yeah.
are in that situation, find themselves in that situation. Well, I want to thank you for looking at it that way and being courageous enough to share and bring us behind that black curtain, man. I appreciate it, brother.
Thank you,
Thank you. So, guys, as always, Monster Motivator TV, we are a live stream TV show coming to you. We're going to highlight, promote local businesses, entrepreneurs, nonprofits, people making a difference in their community. We want to get that message out there. We'll come to you, or you come to our studio in Marietta. Either way, we want to take the excuses away. Your story isn't about you. Your story is about those other people that you're going to be able to help. Anybody else jump on, Kelly, before we jump off?
Nope.
Nope. Okay. Guys, thanks so much for jumping on. Thanks so much for your comments. Once we're done, as you guys know, we're going to reshare this. Kenny's going to reshare it, and then he'll be able to interact if people have questions on Facebook.
Yeah.
And then once it's done, we upload it on our YouTube. That's your footage to use however you want on your websites, whatever you want to do. Same with the promo, man.
Thank you, buddy.
So thank you again, man. I appreciate it.
This was awesome.
And guys, keep making it happen, but make it happen Monster Motivator style, baby. Ah! Thank you, brother.
Nice.
That was awesome.
That was.